NBA Youngboy reacts to Mellow Rackz taking the charge for him. The internet froze the moment the headline hit. Not because NBA Youngboy was pulled over again. Not because police lights flashed on a dark Utah highway. But because of what happened after the stop. Because this time, someone else stepped forward. Someone else took the fall. Someone else looked the system in the eye and said, "Put it on me." And when word spread that Mellow Rackz allegedly took the charge so NBA Youngboy could walk free, the hip-hop world erupted into chaos. Fans are calling it the ultimate act of loyalty. Critics are calling it reckless. The feds? Silent. And NBA Youngboy? He didn't celebrate. He didn't flex. He didn't post chains or cryptic emojis. Instead, sources say his reaction was raw, emotional, and nothing like anyone expected. Because behind closed doors, this wasn't a win. It was a nightmare. Leaked messages started circulating. Whispers of a heated confrontation inside the car. A moment where time slowed down and one decision changed everything. Social media went to war overnight. She saved him. He let her crash out. This is real street loyalty. This is manipulation. Every side had receipts. Every timeline had holes. And every new clip made the story darker. Then came the reactions. Industry insiders speaking in code. Rappers choosing sides. Fans replaying old lyrics like they were prophecies. And in the middle of it all, NBA Youngboy is silent, pressured, and allegedly spiraling, forced to confront the truth that freedom sometimes comes at a terrifying cost. Because the real question isn't why Mellow Rackz took charge. It's what NBA Youngboy did after she did. The moment the doors shut and the car rolled away from that Utah shoulder, nothing felt like freedom. According to people close to the situation, NBA Youngboy didn't say a word for several minutes. No victory speech. No relief. Just silence so heavy it felt like pressure in the chest. Inside that vehicle, the reality hit all at once. Someone else had just put their future on the line for his. And that kind of loyalty doesn't feel good in the moment. It feels terrifying. Sources claim the stop itself was anything but random. The tip that triggered it didn't just name the vehicle, it allegedly described who was inside and what officers would find. That detail alone sent fans into meltdown mode. Twitter exploded with accusations of a snitch inside the circle. Screenshots of old tweets resurfaced. People started counting who was with him that day, who posted after, who stayed silent. Every move became suspicious. Every caption was treated like a confession. But inside the car, the tension was reportedly immediate. As officers searched, voices dropped. Someone whispered that this was bad. Someone else allegedly looked straight at Youngboy and said, "I got this." When the drugs were found, the air changed. According to an alleged insider, there was a split second where no one moved. No one spoke. And then Mellow Rackz stepped forward. What happened next is already legend online. Police reports say ownership was claimed by two people in the vehicle, not the artist. Charges were discussed. Names were taken. And somehow, NBA Youngboy walked away without cuffs. That's the moment the narrative exploded. Within hours, blogs were calling it sacrifice. Others called it strategy. Some went darker, suggesting pressure, power dynamics, even unspoken expectations. Behind the scenes, though, sources say Youngboy was shaken. Not relieved, shaken. One person close to him allegedly said he kept repeating the same sentence, "This wasn't supposed to happen like this." Another source claims he refused to listen to music that night. No studio. No phone. Just pacing. Because once the adrenaline faded, the weight hit him hard. This wasn't a headline. This was someone else's life. Leaked DMs began surfacing the next morning. Unverified, but explosive. Messages allegedly sent from people in his camp arguing about what went wrong, who talked too much, who trusted the wrong person. One message that went viral read, "We all knew Utah was watching." Another simply said, "She didn't hesitate." That line alone split the internet in half. Fans started pulling clips of Mellow Rackz from past interviews, replaying moments where she talked about loyalty, about riding no matter what. Suddenly those words felt prophetic. TikTok edits flooded timelines, setting her voice over slow-motion footage of police lights. Millions of views overnight. Comment sections turned brutal. Some praised her as fearless. Others accused Youngboy of letting it happen. And then came his reaction, at least the one nobody expected. According to a studio engineer who claims to have been present days later, Youngboy broke down. Not anger. Not rage. Guilt. Real, visible guilt. The kind you don't perform for cameras. The kind that comes from realizing survival came at someone else's expense. Allegedly, he slammed his phone down and said, "I can't keep letting people pay for me." That statement alone sent shockwaves through his inner circle. Because if true, it meant something deeper was happening. Youngboy has always been painted as untouchable, unmoved, hardened by the streets. But now? Sources say this incident cracked something. He allegedly questioned everyone around him. Asked who was really safe to be with. Asked who might be next. Meanwhile, the legal pressure didn't stop. Utah authorities reportedly began reviewing everything. Past cases. Past stops. Old paperwork. Even though he wasn't charged, the scrutiny intensified. Analysts online started warning fans that this wasn't over, that this was the kind of situation prosecutors remember. That when someone beats the system too many times, the system waits. And the industry noticed. Other artists started posting vague warnings. One rapper tweeted, "Loyalty ain't free." Another posted a black screen with the words, "Check who riding with you." People connected dots fast. Was this about Youngboy? About Mellow Rackz? About someone else who took a fall before? Then a new twist dropped. A short audio clip leaked to a gossip page, unconfirmed, distorted, but chilling. A voice believed to be close to the situation said, "He told her not to. She did it anyway." That single line flipped the narrative again. If true, it meant this wasn't pressure. It was choice. And choice changes everything. Fans argued all night. If she chose it, does that absolve him? Or does it make it worse? Does accepting someone's sacrifice make you responsible forever? Comment sections turned philosophical, angry, emotional. Meanwhile, Youngboy stayed quiet publicly. No posts. No rants. No cryptic lyrics. Silence that felt intentional. But behind that silence, something was building. According to insiders, he recorded multiple tracks in one night and deleted all of them. Too emotional. Too raw. One engineer allegedly said, he sounded scared. Not scared of jail. Scared of loss. Scared of watching people he cares about fall while he keeps walking forward. And then, just as the internet thought the story had peaked, a new detail surfaced. A source claimed there was a heated argument after the stop. That voices were raised. That someone accused someone else of being careless. And that Youngboy said something that stunned everyone in the room. Something that suggested this wasn't the first time someone had covered for him. That's when the conversation shifted from one incident to a pattern. Fans started asking uncomfortable questions. How many times has this happened before? How many charges were quietly absorbed by people around him? How many sacrifices never made headlines? And as those questions grew louder, so did the tension around Mellow Rackz's future. Would charges stick? Would deals be offered? Would silence?
The moment Vincent's implication hit, that Tamer didn't move alone, the story mutated into something far more dangerous. This was no longer about one marriage collapsing under pressure. This was about an entire power structure being quietly questioned in real time. And according to multiple so-called insiders, the panic behind the scenes was immediate. Group chats went dark. Phones stopped ringing. People who had once spoken freely suddenly had nothing to say. Because when accusations stop sounding emotional and start sounding organized, fear enters the room. Within hours, industry sources claimed Vincent began receiving messages from people he hadn't heard from in years. Not to check on him. Not to clear his name. But to feel him out. To see how far he was willing to go. One alleged message, paraphrased by a blogger who claims to have seen it, read, "Let it rest. You don't want this smoke." That single sentence poured gasoline on everything. Because if there was nothing to hide, why threaten silence? At the same time, a second leak started circulating in private spaces. Not public yet. Not confirmed. A spreadsheet. Grainy screenshots passed around like contraband. Allegedly showing financial movements tied to shared ventures between Vincent and Tamar, but with approvals that didn't match the narrative fans had been fed. Dates that overlapped with moments when Vincent was publicly defending Tamar. Transfers that lined up eerily well with family emergencies, sudden business pivots, and unexplained spending sprees that were later joked about on television. Suddenly, the jokes didn't feel funny anymore. Fans turned into forensic accountants overnight. Twitter threads stretched for miles. People started connecting dots between Tamar's public statements about independence and empowerment and the quiet dismantling of shared assets behind the scenes. Others pushed back hard, accusing Vincent of weaponizing timing, of using public sympathy to rewrite history. But even those defending Tamar admitted one thing felt off: nobody was denying the money moved. They were just debating why. Then the alleged voice memo surfaced. Not a clear one. Distorted. Short. But chilling. A voice believed to belong to Vincent says, "I was paying for peace." And they knew it. That line became the new rallying cry for his supporters. Because paying for peace implies leverage. It implies silence purchased at a high cost. And once people believe someone bought silence, they immediately ask who benefited from it. The Braxton camp still didn't respond directly. Instead, cryptic behavior multiplied. Tamar unfollowed someone she had followed for years. Tawanda posted then deleted a vague quote about survival. Trina went live for a few minutes, only to abruptly end it when comments started asking about money. Tony posted nothing, but was spotted liking a comment that said, "Truth always comes out." Each move felt tiny on its own. Together, they looked like cracks spreading across glass. Behind closed doors, rumors of an explosive confrontation began circulating. Allegedly, a private meeting took place involving Tamar, a family elder, and legal counsel. No cameras. No phones allowed. Witnesses claimed voices were raised. Accusations flew. And one phrase reportedly echoed through the room: "He knows more than you think." That sentence alone sent chills through fan communities when it leaked. Because if true, it meant Vincent wasn't guessing. He was holding back. What pushed the story into full meltdown territory was the emergence of a new insider. Anonymous. No verified identity. But disturbingly detailed. This source claimed Vincent had questioned specific transactions years ago, and was told they were temporary safeguards. He allegedly trusted that explanation. Trusted the people giving it to him. Only to later realize those safeguards became permanent separations. Money he thought was paused was actually gone. Control he thought was shared was already transferred. Social media erupted again, when this source added one more detail: Vincent allegedly discovered paperwork that required more than one signature. Which means, if true, someone else had to sign off. Someone with authority. Someone the public never sees as a villain. That's when the internet went quiet for a split second before exploding even louder. Because everyone knew exactly where that line of thinking led. The pressure mounted so fast that even neutral observers started choosing sides. Podcasts dedicated entire episodes to what Vincent might reveal next. Lawyers on TikTok analyzed hypothetical scenarios. Former producers hinted that reality TV captured only a fraction of the truth. And through it all, Vincent remained mostly silent. No victory lap. No constant posting. Just enough words to keep the fire alive. That restraint terrified people more than any rant ever could. Then came the moment that ended this chapter on a knife's edge. According to multiple sources, Vincent has agreed to speak, fully, if one more false narrative about him goes public. He's allegedly drawing a line. And insiders claim the material he's prepared to release doesn't just name names. It shows intent. Planning. A timeline that reframes the entire Braxton family dynamic in a way no reality show ever dared to show. And if that happens, the question won't be whether Tamer took the money. The question will be who decided Vincent was expendable and why. By the time the third wave hit, nobody was pretending this was just messy divorce drama anymore. This had crossed into something colder, more calculated, and far more dangerous. Because what began as Vincent finally telling his side, was now being whispered about as a controlled detonation, one he'd allegedly been sitting on for years, waiting for the exact moment the narrative turned so aggressively against him that silence became impossible. According to multiple unnamed sources, Vincent didn't rush to speak, because he was afraid. He stayed quiet, because he was documenting every argument, every explanation, every justification that didn't sit right. One insider claimed he kept digital backups, not out of revenge, but because he knew one day he'd need to prove he wasn't crazy. That line alone set the internet on fire. Because people don't archive years of their life unless they believe the truth will eventually be questioned. The biggest jolt came when whispers spread that a sealed folder exists. Not metaphorical. Literal. Allegedly sitting with Vincent's legal team, untouched unless certain conditions are met. And inside that folder, sources claim, are communications that shift the story from emotional fallout to strategic execution. Emails. Draft agreements. Messages discussing protection, positioning, and long-term security in language that feels disturbingly corporate for what fans thought was just family chaos. Then the celebrity reactions started leaking out. Not statements, reactions. One high-profile producer allegedly told a journalist, "If half of what he's hinting at is real, this will rewrite how people view that entire brand." Another industry vet was blunter, "This isn't about Tamer being wrong or right. This is about power." And Vincent lost it quietly while everyone clapped. That sentiment spread like wildfire, because it reframed him not as bitter, but as outmaneuvered. Meanwhile, Tamer's silence grew louder than any denial ever could. No direct response. No receipts. Just carefully chosen posts about healing, faith, and boundaries. To her supporters, that meant she was protecting her peace. To critics, it looked like someone waiting to see what evidence actually surfaces before choosing a defense. Every hour without clarity made speculation mutate into certainty for people already primed to believe betrayal. And then came the line that changed everything. In a brief, off-camera moment caught by someone close to Vincent, he reportedly said, "I didn't lose my money. I lost my place." That sentence hit harder than any accusation. Because losing money implies theft. Losing your place implies erasure. It suggests decisions were made that quietly pushed him out of relevance, ownership, and authority while keeping him close enough to be useful. The internet immediately connected that idea to one terrifying possibility: Vincent wasn't just financially impacted, he was strategically sidelined. And if that's true, the money wasn't the goal. Control was. Legacy was. And suddenly, every past argument about support, every comment about ownership, every moment where Vincent looked tired on camera took on an entirely new meaning. As the pressure reached a boiling point, a final rumor slipped out, one that hasn't been confirmed, but refuses to die. Allegedly, a sit-down interview has already been filmed. Not edited. Not announced. Filmed. And it won't be emotional. It won't be chaotic. It will be methodical. Names. Dates. Documents. A calm delivery that contrasts sharply with years of public perception. If it airs, fans won't be debating sides anymore. They'll be debating fallout. And here's the most chilling part. Sources say Vincent doesn't even want revenge. He wants corrections. He wants the record adjusted before history locks him into a role he says he never deserved. But correction at this level doesn't come without casualties. Careers. Relationships. Reputations built over decades could fracture overnight. The story now sits at a dangerous crossroads. Either this stops with implication and silence, or someone forces Vincent's hand and unleashes a truth the Braxton family may never recover from. And judging by how tight his circle has gone, how quiet the other side has become, and how the industry is bracing for impact, this feels less like an ending and more like the calm before something irreversible. If you've made it this far, you already know this isn't just another celebrity breakup story you scroll past and forget. This is one of those moments where the internet decides the ending in real time, and whether the truth survives depends on who's actually paying attention. Right now. Not later. Not after the next headline rewrites the story for you. This situation is evolving by the hour. Clips are disappearing. Accounts are going private. Statements are being reconsidered. And every time that happens, pieces of the truth quietly vanish with them. That's why being locked in matters. Because once the full receipts drop, if they drop, you don't want to be the person catching up from screenshots and half explanations. You want to be here when it breaks. So if this shook you even a little, hit that like button. It tells the algorithm this story deserves daylight, not silence. Drop your thoughts in the comments, too. Who you believe, what you think is being hidden, and what you think happens next. This comment section is